All right, welcome to the 58th episode of the Next Report, where we talk about Unix and overlooked pop culture. Um, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Steven.
Uh, Last time we kind of talked about things like Tor, VPN, anything that can get around censorship and help access information, spread information, and figured we kind of went over maybe at least one of the things last time, but like the impact that it's had. We'll start out with the impact that all that this concept has had and kind of segue into some more fun stuff, because that's one of the things that the access to unfettered access to information can allow us to also have like cool fun stuff too. When we talk about being able to look things up, find things out, um, without having to go through any layer of bureaucracy, some of the things that can happen is it can have an impact on business. It can also complicate things in business. One example is, and we'll be kind of mentioning Netflix a little bit later, but there's been pressure, at least in Australia, to have Netflix ban the use of VPNs, which good luck with that, because you can't ban every single IP address. It's not going to end well. And one of the reasons for all of that is the complicated rights systems throughout the world, the geo-locking and everything else. Because how a lot of video-based entertainment works, whether it's movies, show, or anything like that, even nowadays, is it's kind of rights are set by worldwide region for whatever reason. It's to maximize profit and everything else in their minds. Unfortunately, technology is moving beyond the old mindset, and a lot of these business-oriented individuals and companies don't always modify their strategy to where customers actually can be served and actually may increase profits, but they don't see that in the long run. They only think of the short term. So anyway, you get these complicated stuff. What happens, whether it's Australia or somewhere else, a VPN is used to access stuff in the U.S. that may, or in another country, that may not be available where you're at. That's how people are able to watch, BBC shows without being in England itself, or it's how people can access Netflix in the United States, where Netflix may not be available in their neck of the woods. So, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is kind of do you think these companies are right? Um,
Well, I think I kind of agree with you for the most part, because if a company is going to decide to offer a specific service, and especially when it comes to entertainment like Netflix or Hulu, they should be able to allow their customers access to their information. Now, granted, you had mentioned that, like a lot of other things, and this goes for like DVDs and Blu-rays as well, and Blu-ray players. Sometimes those are actually locked to a region, even if it's physical media. If like your device picks up that it's from a different region, then it's supposed to not play it. I think I'm not sure exactly how that works, But it's the same way with like online material, online media. Like if you're watching a video on Netflix or streaming something from Google Play. I think Google Play is completely open, but don't hold me to that.
Right.
So,
Like,
it shouldn't pose a problem to a customer who is willing to pay for a specific service. If they're paid, then why stop them? Why stop them from increasing your profits? They're willing to pay to use your services.
and part of it may be the licensing fees. It's the end of the Forbes article that I'm looking at is that and this guy that's writing this article, Ian Morris, is pointing this out, is ultimately TV and movie studios need to remember something. Netflix customers are paying for the service. Every Netflix user, whether they're connecting through a VPN or not, has made the conscious decision to pay for entertainment rather than to download it from a torrent site. If rights holders force Netflix to shut the door on these subscribers, then it will simply force them to get the shows and movies they love in another way, with zero potential profit for anyone. And there was an update when a firm Golden Frog, it's a VPN firm, got in touch with a quote from Sunday Yaku Bitus, which pretty much agreed that VPN users are, for the most part, using these services to protect their privacy above all else. This is a direct quote from him. When accusations are made against VPN users without basis, this only discourages the use of VPN services, and it puts people at increased risk. In an online world that is increasingly less private and secure, we'd hope the organizations would encourage privacy tools and stop inaccurately stereotyping VPN users. It is privacy, not piracy, that drives the popularity of VPNs. The perception that an internet user that desires privacy and security is a pirate needs to be changed. And so it's kind of, maybe that's that fear of the unknown too, or maybe the fear that people will know some things that may be politically controversial, like a certain non-disclosure agreement with the FBI to track cell phone usage. And according to Muck Rock News, and this is a very, very recent article too, spotted this, and I was like, oh my. This is first actual paragraph. Advanced cell phone tracking devices known as stingrays allow police nationwide to home in on suspects or to log individuals present at a given location. But before acquiring a stingray, state and local police must sign a non-disclosure agreement with the FBI. So, and according to this, that agency is heavily involved, and Harris Corporation is the one that manufactures these things. They're basically cell site simulators, and they trick phones into connecting to it as if it were a cell tower, which allows police to determine the location and the owners of the phone. So it's just so that's definitely going to cause some a bit of ruckus, I would say. Which I think you and I both know that when you turn your phone off, you're not really turning it off. The only way to turn it off truly is to pull the battery out.
In a lot of newer phones, the battery is now integrated into the phone, so you can't pull it out. For the phone that I have currently, it's got an internal battery which I can take out. All I have to do is take off this hard-to-take-off case get the whole heavy thing out, and to pop off the back cover, and I can't take my battery out, and that's how I access my SD card slot and SIM card slot and stuff like
Right.
that. But like you said, it doesn't truly turn it off, because if you turn off the phone, there's still an internal clock on the board of the phone. There's a couple of other devices that are still actually running, actively searching.
And I've read a story of, can't remember where they can be remotely turned back on, so to speak, and everything else. And I'll be honest, it's with some of the stuff in that media content generation that I've done in the past. At this point, I personally don't care, because I'm probably on some list somewhere, and I could panic about it and basically die of an aneurysm from worrying so much, or I can just be like, well, might as well live my life, because you only live once anyway. And I'm on the Screenwise. I'm also on the Screenwise panel, which here's kind of what it looks like. Holding this up to the webcam here. This is kind of what it looks like for those who may not know on your phone. What that is it harvests your data from surfing in Google Chrome, and your searches and stuff, and all that information, how you use the web, is sent to Google so they can use that info to improve their services, yada yada yada. They pay us. They kind of reward you in a small stipend every week or so, and once you generate $25 in rewards, you can get a gift card from various places. I figured if they're going to be harvesting my data anyway, I might as well get paid for it. That's just me. And it's not much. It's something that I can use to. One of the things that they allow for is an Amazon gift card or something like that. I'm like, well, I could probably do that, and heck, if it turns out they do Walmart gift cards too, I'll be like, oh, what the hell? Unless it's an e-gift card, then I'll go another route. But if they send out a physical gift card, oh, what the hell? That's like free gas for me. So yeah, so I've earned $6 so far, but that's because I have a computer and a phone. If I had a tablet too, then I'd be able to. I used to have a tablet, but I sold it off years ago. But I personally don't care, but others might care, and that's why organizations like WikiLeaks exist, which people argue back and forth about Julian Assange. But figured you might find this interesting. Have you ever heard of the Finn Fisher software?
Maybe. I remember when the whole phishing phenomena took off, and Internet Explorer actually had something built into it. I can't remember which version that was. It was like 7 or 8.
Right.
I decided to start building that into it. I think when XP was still popular.
Well, Finn Fisher is it was privately sold to various governments, and they used it to spy on dissidents. And this article from Engadget kind of puts it quite bluntly. It's their all-or-nothing approach to revealing shady government activity took a new, if decidedly risky, turn. They posted FinFisher and FinSpy PC, the intrusion software that Australia, Italy, Pakistan, and other countries use to break into and spy on people's devices, no matter what platform they're running. They're hoping that privacy-minded developers will actually try to improve security and prevent these governments from cracking down on dissidents. and it's also an attempt to pressure Germany to clamp down on it and live up to its anti-surveillance principles. Um, and they're hoping that the tools won't fall into the wrong hands. But the cool part is there will be people out there that'll pretty much fix that pretty quickly. If they care, they have to care enough to do it, but I'm fairly confident there are enough people out there who will do it, and it's in their little spy files 4 grouping, and it looks like they've got and the size of the biggest file is like less than 3 megabytes, so be interesting to at least analyze their code if you're into that sort of thing. But like, would you be able to tell what type of language they probably use to develop this stuff? I imagine some Java would have to be involved in it if they said all platforms, right?
Yeah, Java pretty much runs on anything you can install the Java virtual machine on. It runs on Solaris Spark devices. It'll run on a Mac. It'll run on Windows, Linux, just anything. And it runs on almost every hardware. Even the Raspberry Pi comes packaged with licensed versions of Oracle software, of Java software. So it runs Java by default. And that would allow them to run that FinFish device. The only problem is if they were concerned with performance, Java would not be their first choice. But they may not be concerned with performance in this case. They're only concerned with cracking on security.
Oh. It's like the FinFisher's FinSpy PC is primarily for Windows. It's mainly to be installed on Windows computer, silently intercepting communications and files, Skype calls, emails, video, and audio through the webcam microphone. In order to prevent any accidental execution and infection, the following files have been renamed, compressed, and password-protected archives. Warning that they're weaponized malware, so handled very carefully. So it's definitely going to create quite a stir for a little while. But so business, government, this stuff has created quite a few conversations in all of this, and which brings this kind of wrapping up point of why I feel it's important. But before we do that, why do you think free flow of information is important?
Well, for me as a developer, one of the reasons why we should have, before I even get to the development point, one of the reasons why we should have a free flow of information is because it will allow people, normal people just like you and me, who are doing this podcast right now, to do the podcast. If they've decided that podcasting needs to be slowed down, or the traffic is just not allowed anymore, just audio and video traffic, what's there going to be for entertainment for users? What people are going to be forced to go see a movie in the theater and forced to get a physical copy of a disc? Some people prefer their stuff in digital downloads and digital delivery instead of physical copies. And then there's also people the other way around that prefer the physical copy. But We won't get into that argument right now.
Right.
But that would prevent people like us to do that. If you guys are familiar with any sites like GitHub or SourceForge, if you do anything with Linux or anything like that, there's a lot of projects out there that have the source code and everything else available on those sites where you can actually download the source code and packaged software, pre-built binaries to install on your machine and run. But you're also able to work, you can contact the developers and say, like, if you have a bug, like, for example, you run a specific set of software on Linux and then you run it on Windows and you actually have a problem on Windows, you need to tell the developers about it because they may not know yet. They may not have tested it on that or tested the specific function that you were doing, what purpose of the software you were doing. So that would limit that. And I feel like it may not, if free flow of information, the idea of net neutrality actually gets disbanded or thrown by the wayside, and then ISPs and everybody else push for this giant trafficking scheme. I don't know what they're planning, but I don't think that software development would be cracked down on so much, but it's hard to tell, and it shouldn't be cracked down on either way. Everything should be universal, should be neutral.
And certainly that's been, a lot of that stuff's been important. If it weren't for the internet, I wouldn't have discovered things about myself. I wouldn't have discovered, I wouldn't have found out that, I could run something other than Windows on my machines. I wouldn't have found any of that out. I wouldn't have discovered that, hey, I could run an entire productivity-based system without shelling out hundreds of dollars for it. And even I can even create, I now have the power to create content without shelling out hundreds of dollars for creativity software. This little rant has been known as the Hacker Manifesto of sorts, or more accurately, the conscience of a hacker. It was an old digital magazine called Frack, and back in that time period, this was published in 1986. This was just about 2 years and maybe barely over 2 years after I was born, because I was born March 1983. This was published on January 8th, 1986, and a guy by the name of The Mentor wrote this shortly after their arrest. Another one got caught today. It's all over the papers. Teenager arrested in computer crime scandal. Hacker arrested after bank tampering. Damn kids, they're all alike. But did you, in your three-piece psychology 1950s techno-brain, ever take a look behind the eyes of the hacker? Did you ever wonder what made him tick? What forces shaped him? What may have molded him? I am a hacker. Enter my world. Mine is a world that begins with school. I'm smarter than most of the other kids. This crap they teach us bores me. Damn underachiever, they're all alike. I'm in junior high school. I've listened to teachers explain for the 15th time how to reduce a fraction. I understand it. No, Miss Smith, I didn't show my work. I did it in my head. Damn kid, probably copied it. They're all alike. I made a discovery today. I found a computer. Wait a second. This is cool. It does what I want it to. If it makes a mistake, it's because I screwed up. Not because it doesn't like me, or feels threatened by me, or thinks I'm a smartass, or doesn't like teaching and shouldn't be here. Damn kid, all he does is play games. They're all alike. And then it happened. A door opened to a world rushing through the phone line like heroin through an addict's veins. An electronic pulse is sent out. A refuge from the day-to-day incompetencies is sought. A board is found. This is it. This is where I belong. I know everyone here, even if I've never met them, never talked to them, may never hear from them again. I know you all. Damn kid, tying up the phone line again. They're all alike. You bet your ass we're all alike. We've been spoon-fed baby food at school when we hungered for steak. The bits of meat that you did let slip through were pre-chewed and tasteless. We've been dominated by sadists or ignored by the apathetic. The few that had something to teach us found us willing pupils, but those are few are like drops of water in the desert. This is our world now, the world of the electron and the switch, the beauty of the baud. We make use of a service already existing without paying for what could be dirt cheap if it wasn't run by profiteering gluttons, and you call us criminals. We explore, and you call us criminals. We seek after knowledge, and you call us criminals. We exist without skin color, without nationality, without religious bias, and you call us criminals. You build atomic bombs, you wage wars, you murder, cheat, and lie to us, and try to make us believe it's for our own good, yet we're the criminals. Yes, I am a criminal. My crime is that of curiosity. My crime is that of judging people by what they say and think, not what they look like. My crime is that of outsmarting you, something that you will never forgive me for. I am a hacker, and this is my manifesto. You may stop this individual, but you can't stop us all. After all, we're all alike. The Mentor. It was this thing that kind of popped up over and over again, and it just kind of resonated within me how I'm sure you've run into kids who seemed like they didn't care about having good grades in school, only it turned out they were smarter than what they let on and everything else. Have you run into that out of curiosity?
The manifesto, or a kid that seems smarter?
Well, those students who look lazy on the outside and everything else, but turned out on the inside they already knew the subject matter. It didn't interest them. They were bored, wanted something else to do.
There were a lot of more kids in. Well, for me growing up, I saw a lot more of that. I kind of hung out with that crowd. It depended on what kind of personality they had. Everybody's got a different personality. You know that. We all know that. But
right.
Anybody that feels like they're a tinkerer or they seek knowledge. Like they're not after religion. They're not after trying to harm someone. They're just after knowledge. There's a lot of people like that. I thirst. I hunger for knowledge myself. I don't always provide that for myself, but
right.
I felt like maybe I was sort of part of that group. I never understood what programming was. I thought it was just like some kind of crazy foreign language, like something that I'll never understand. That was just some wicked, crazy math. And I get into the field and I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah, ironically, I got into computers when, it was one of those things where, I was kind of aimlessly lost and everything else, and my sister went into like classes where the computer were used more often, so suddenly in high school I would do that, and I would try my hand at computer programming. Found out the hard way that technically I can do computer programming. Tried it again in college a little bit. I can do software development. I don't have the patience for it. So, but I did this
a long time.
Yeah, because one little thing wrong can throw the whole thing off, and I can bang my head against the wall, and bless his heart, Dr. Kamal was way more patient with me than I honestly thought he should have been. I had always heard that he's fairly demanding as an instructor. For some reason, he took mercy on me, and I don't understand why, but I think he saw that my mind worked differently from everybody else's, and I was not going to grasp this stuff as quickly or be able to get, or that I get frustrated very easily. He's like, look, of course he was trying to keep his numbers in CIS up, by like, even if you're not that great of a developer, you can still make good money managing an entire team of developers. And I'm like, and after quitting an accounting class twice, I think maybe 3 times, I can't remember, actually twice, I'm like, I'm going to change my major. I'll do computers, but not on the university's terms. I'll do it on my terms, because I'm like, I know why the accounting stuff is done, but it just makes my head explode. I'm like, nah, no, I don't need to have a business degree if I want to do something like this. and my foundation for mathematics kind of went by the wayside a long time ago, at least the advanced portions of it. So computer science was not an option for me either. So I went with something else. But yeah, if it weren't for ready access to the internet, wouldn't have been able to do all this stuff, and we wouldn't be able to discuss, what's going on in the world of Minecraft, since Microsoft bought the company that essentially owns it. Which, speaking of which, there are fears that it may go to pot if Microsoft messes with it too much. There are questions of what's going to happen to the marketplace. And you're an avid player of Minecraft too.
I was actually playing Minecraft just before we started this episode. I was trying to work on building something in the Nether. If you're familiar with the Minecraft, there's in vanilla Minecraft, I play with crap tons of mods. But if you're familiar with Minecraft, there's dimensions, and I was messing around with one of the other dimensions. But anyway, get back to the topic.
But yeah, there's been concerns that since Microsoft bought it out, it may eventually not be as good as it could be, or will third party mods be hindered? I don't know. I do know that when they bought Skype, they kept the Skype company as a separate unit of sorts. I guess let them operate for the most part independently. They just, I guess, bought it for the technology to integrate with Link, their telephony app. And of course, my Toshiba kind of slows down when I'm trying to look at this. Washington Post, IB Times, they're talking about it. There's been reassurance that they're just going to make it they're going to keep everything that's making it great, and also try to make it better. Even talk of bringing it to the Windows Phone as well. Oh my! So my Toshiba satellite only has 2 gigs of RAM. I keep forgetting that.
Try to open up too many tabs.
Well, yeah, but it should be able to take it. That's the thing. Like, if it was my Breeze desktop, I could see it bogging down, But then again, this isn't Chrome OS that's running on this thing either, so... Oh, there we are. I think I'll close this tab and this tab. That should correct it. Anyway, so they've bought out Minecraft. Like, do you have any concerns about that?
I do. The day that I found out, the day that it went global, there was talk. There had been rumors about it for probably a week, 2 weeks, that Minecraft was or Mojang was, or Microsoft was planning on buying out Mojang, and apparently, approximately a year, I think, Notch, one of the creators of Minecraft, had tweeted that he never wants to get rid of Minecraft. Something about it would take $2 billion to do it, and if you guys are familiar with the recent transaction that took place, it was $2.5 billion was the actual amount in question. I personally am concerned for the future of Minecraft now. The one thing that I can say that I think will be to Minecraft's benefit and Mojang's benefit in the creation of Minecraft is that Microsoft just can't kill off all the other platforms that it's already been released for, or the platforms it's been planned to be released. And just the other day, a couple days ago, on the PlayStation blog or PlayStation Network blog, one or the other, they mentioned that there was going to be a release date for Minecraft for PS4. Something, I think it was October 3rd. But for that, and then Xbox will be released for the Xbox One, or Minecraft will be released for the Xbox One, the PS Vita, and I think Microsoft plans on making it for the Windows Phone. At least that's what the CEO said he or she had plans for. So I was concerned initially, but now some of these things are coming out. I don't think it's going to happen, mostly because Microsoft just can't kill off everything that they've already done. If anything, they can make it better, and that's what they plan on doing, is trying to make it better. And also, in another article I read a week ago, is that Microsoft does not want to disable players from creating excellent content. They don't want people to walk away from Minecraft and go, that's not going to be fun at all. They want people to come in, create something, and share it with everybody. They want people to be able to create and share all this content, and that includes mods. And one thing that I think Microsoft will do, something that Mojang never did, is that they will create some sort of an API to allow people to modders to come in, create more mods for Minecraft, so on and so forth, instead of having to rely on a third-party source like Minecraft Forge or
Right.
Minecraft Coder Pack. It's usually known as MCP on a lot of forums and stuff. But I think the future of Minecraft looks pretty good.
Do you think Microsoft's going to go the way kind of Sega and just and instead of trying to dominate with Windows, actually try to profit wherever it can?
I think that ignoring profit is out of the question. They're going to try and profit from it the best way that they can. But they've probably decided to acquire Mojang to get a better foothold in the gaming industry. Because for those of you that aren't familiar, Microsoft has not made very many games. They have 90% of the games that they have made have been things like Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires, that entire series that was all by Microsoft Game Studios. They've also made some other strategy games. They also made one of my favorite games ever, which was Fable, the Fable series, Fable 2. And I just recently bought Fable Anniversary. I've been playing it a little bit, but if anything, they can make it better. I really think they will.
You know, and and I've noticed that when they bought the company behind Skype, they kept it as a separate entity, and suddenly releases for different platforms were actually updated. You can actually install it, install it onto Linux-based platforms if you want to, on Android, etc. So it looks like now it's to the point where they have no choice. They can't do a lockout or anything like that because they don't have the foothold to do that anymore. It's either adapt or they're going to go belly up as a company down the road. I've even noticed more and more that, and there are those who are fearing the whole, embrace, extend, and then destroy strategy is resurfacing, but I'm thinking they may not be as able to do that nowadays because of what's happened, because more people are paying attention to what's in their software, and what's in their devices too. And speaking of what's in your devices, if this thing that we're going to talk about can be found in most of your as an application in your Blu-ray player, if it can be found in most of your other media type devices for entertainment, then why not make sure it can run on your platform of choice too? Netflix is now working on native support for Linux-based platforms, and it's becoming more official now. Used to be you had to do a user agent switching string to kind of trick the Netflix website into thinking, hey, you're on Windows. Silverlight's fading, according to Engadget, and it kind of is. It's kind of, even Microsoft's kind of abandoning it to a point, and they're going with HTML5. So with HTML5, it doesn't matter which distribution you're running. Basically, Paul Adolph kind of posted to the Ubuntu developers telling them that Netflix will play with Chrome stable in 14.02 if NSS version 3.16.2 or greater is installed. Basically, security. It's a security-related thing, and it's an encrypted. It helps handle things like encrypted video streams, which is a high priority at Netflix. And the security updates, that component's going to be updated very, very, very soon. So and the new version should, come out due in October and all that. So crafty people have been able to, change the user agent string to get, HTML5 player support. Chrome OS, Android, Roku already have this support. So that's some good news for those who are wanting, to be playing their Netflix series on, on their computer, on the go, or at home, or on your media box. I think it's great news. So that this is, but hopefully this works in other web browsers too. But do you have Netflix yourself, or not so much?
my fiance and I use a Netflix account. We usually would use it on my TV when my Windows PC was connected to my TV, so I didn't have to worry about it. But if I wanted to, I could probably connect another device and make it run that way, especially with the way this is working now. I haven't given it a try yet, and I've got an Android phone. I don't have the Netflix app installed on it because I haven't had the need to, because my network's not fast enough usually. And if I'm watching TV, I'm usually at home. If I'm watching a show, I'm usually at home. I don't have last break where I could probably utilize that time to watch some shows and stuff while I was on campus, but I don't have the need to now. So.
And like one of the shows that my girlfriend and I watch now it's kind of become addicting, is Once Upon a Time series, and it's kind of pretty cool. And if this support comes, I'll be able to more than ways than one catch up on episodes I may have missed. Although CenturyLink certain times at night on certain days doesn't seem to take kindly to high definition streaming to a high definition television, but it happens sometimes. But a lot of the stuff is kind of like advancing, and the next thing you know, we're going to be having like artificial babies who can do college level math. If Intel progresses the way they have been with Baby X, their toddler simulation. So apparently some guy holds up a picture book to computer screen, and let's see. A blonde toddler mimics his facial expressions, reads simple words aloud, and even plays basic video games with the scientist. It's a 3D simulated human child, and he's getting smarter every day. So that's I'd say that's kind of scary.
It could be a little bit. The scariest part is the fact that this Baby X simulation that they've created is learning. It's just like a normal baby. They've replicated the processes of association and assimilation and everything else, which allows young children to learn as they're growing up. And even us as adults, we use the same techniques because it's basically embedded and hardwired in our brain to learn that way by association. And I'm sure you've heard of it, and I'm sure you've probably played it, but there's like a word association game, like you and a group of people could be like, you start off with one word like food, and then the next person says apple, and then the next person says pie. And all those three things are related because apple is a food, and then pie is you can have an apple pie, and then once they move to pie, then somebody else could say, well, it's not a word, but you could say 3.14 because it's related to pi mathematically. But you get the point. It's how the human brain works. We associate things together to create a link in your brain, so that way you understand what these two things are.
Right.
It's like the same thing between like a tablet and a phone. Like most kids now, they can pick up either one, use it just no problem, because it's literally the same thing, just on a bigger scale. Like, here's my phone, and here's my tablet, and you can see the difference. It's just a size difference,
right.
And software as well. But for the most part, the same gestures work. You can browse the internet, do whatever you want with it. So, and it's crazy what that thing can accomplish, especially if they let that loose out in the world. It is open source, though.
As long as they don't try to talk slang, I'll be fine with it. the Guardian talks about he kind of Watson, the supercomputer that beat human all-comers in the quiz show Jeopardy in 2011. Um, but it can readily absorb information far beyond the capacity of any human, but where it struggles is understanding our subtlety of language, particularly the human predilection of slang. And to to test Watson's skills at understanding slang, Brown instructed the supercomputer to digest the Urban Dictionary. Oh, God. In one test, Watson mistakenly used the word bullshit to answer one of Brown's queries. The Urban Dictionary has now been deleted from Watson's memory. So, I guess there is a limit to artificial intelligence. So, and I guess that's going to be the big challenge of AI is basically the ability to improvise is one of the biggest weaknesses of computers out there. They cannot do it, or at least not as readily if they're not programmed for the possibility. One of my instructors in one of my classes, it was the debate class that I took, he talked about he was using the debate regarding replacing pilots with mechanized and robotic type components instead where you can remotely fly and land a plane and everything else. But he eventually explained to me the counter argument that went beyond, it might affect the pilots having a job, the unions would oppose it, and he explained how a pilot was still able to land a plane even when one of the wings was ripped off in a storm, and everything else. So this improvising and oh my, I think I read something about Watson and the Urban Dictionary before, and them having to just going, oh no, we're removing that before, but this Baby X by Intel seems to be very, very, very intriguing. Wow, and so this is pretty cool. So, but this is kind of like a 3D simulation, though it's not implanted inside a mechanized thing. So, what do you think is going to happen with this Baby X?
It's hard to say, since I would assume the way that the software works right now is it actually monitors. You can see the actual processes that are going on in its virtual brain. You can see how it's analyzing everything that you're doing based on the learning process and everything else, and it uses its webcam to get the user's face to track your facial motions, everything else, and when you show it something like a picture or whatever, or you're playing a game with it, that's how it learns. It's visual, and it uses the mic as well for when you respond with voice and everything else. So to move that from a stationary computer or a PC to something robotic, it's going to take a little bit of work. And granted, they're working on both things. That's one of the craziest things that Intel does is that they have this. I forgot what the page was, but it's Insights. IQ.intel.com is their Insights Innovation Research area where they allow people from all over the world use their products to develop new things, use to innovate. And so it's hard to say what's going to happen, but I think they might eventually develop some sort of a robot with the BBX software, or the BBX software will probably give them a step forward in terms of that.
So that's I remember reading about artificial intelligence at MIT in Stephen Levy's book Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution, and I think we've come a long way since that time. Because like the big programming language that was being used at the time was Lisp, and now it's just now things have gotten more and more interesting. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for the Free Flow of Information series, where we also got into some fun stuff too. I also think that maybe discussing kind of video games and video game related news too is in the future would be a good idea. Can't make any promises at this point, but I think I may be able to have an extra episode available ahead of time if I can get together with Stephen Kelly, since he's settled in up in Independence now, Independence area. So he's not very far from where he works now. And everything else, I'd have to get with him. But he and I might be able to do something this Thursday, which would give you a break next week, possibly. Unless you're needing one next week no matter what, which I would totally understand. You're running into your class load's kind of picking up, I'm guessing, by now.
Not necessarily the class load. It's I'm getting close to the end of my degree. I actually went and talked to my advisor today, and I found out I only have 5 classes left before I can graduate, so I'm getting really close to being finished. And it's just I have all of my classes are high-level classes. I have nothing lower than a 3,000 level class, and I only have one 3,000 level class. Everything else is 4,000 levels, core and elective classes for my degree. So it's the workload for the classes themselves. It's a little rough. Between that and work and full time, it can be hectic. But I might be able to do a podcast next week if you don't get one with Steven. Otherwise, then we can do it week after or whatever. We'll figure something out.
Possibly get something done ahead of time. That way, should that time come, we'll all be able to kind of take a break 1 week and have something available for everybody else by default. Finally managed to update the back end for creating the RSS feed for the podcast, and the new theme is up. Unfortunately, I should have done what they recommended and back up certain files. Like the sound files are still there. It's just the little images that were associated with each episode are now gone, but that's all right. But the new theme looks pretty good. May have to tweak it a little bit, but it looks like more and more things are being updated to make it easier to share on social networking too. I mean, I'd like to get honestly, I'd like to get into the whole Gamersgate controversy, because a lot of it looks like he said, she said stuff, and among some other questionable things, because apparently, um, how they talk about, oh, Fox News is biased, or this organization is biased, or that's biased. There have been issues in the gaming industry where gaming publications kind of have had to toe the line or face not getting access to demos or game releases before they're officially on the market and things like that, to where large gaming companies can make or break a publication practically. I've been kind of looking into that off and on, and I'm like, basically saw an article on Cracked, and the woman in question was talking about her experience about being the most hated person on the internet for a few weeks. And I'm reading some of this stuff and going, some of this sounds plausible, but some of it sounded fishy. Because, blaming one gender or another, I personally have an issue with. It's just one more us versus them mentality that I don't care for. But that's just my view on it. So I've been looking into that, and maybe even talk about that new toy you're getting in the mail sometime. Because I have this guy, but sounds like the screen of the phone you're getting is going to be even bigger than mine.
Yeah, it's a. I was talking with Thomas before we started the show, and the phone I currently have is the same one that Thomas had before. It's the Samsung Galaxy S2. It's getting a little old. I was going to wait to get one, but I got a really good deal on a phone, so I decided to go ahead and get it. And it's the for those of you that don't know, it's the Sony Xperia Z Ultra. It's a phablet. I told one of my other classmates about it, and he looked at me. He's like, "That's not a phone. That's a tablet," because it's a 6.4-inch touchscreen. And to put it into perspective, Tom's just showed you the Galaxy Note 3, which has a 5.7-inch touchscreen, and mine's almost an inch larger. His phone can actually sit inside the screen of my phone.
Xperia Ultra, right?
Yeah, Sony Xperia Z Ultra, and it's really fast. It's good. The only downside to it is that it doesn't have flash to the camera, so I'm gonna have to live without flash on my camera from now on.
Which, in some cases, may actually be a good thing. I've noticed some cases flash actually hinders it. And
the only problem is if I'm taking a picture in a dark area, and if I need more light, then that's what the flash would come in handy. But I don't take many pictures anyway, so for me it's not going to be too much of a big deal. I just usually use the flash on my phone as a flashlight anyway. So.
And I'm trying to look up the specs of this thing. Yeah, it's the screen resolution sounds pretty impressive, and
it's a 1080p screen.
Oh, absolutely.
1080p screen. Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor, which runs at 2.2 gigahertz. It's a very similar processor to the one that you're running. I think yours is faster, but it's got the entire slew of connectivity that you would expect out of a common processor from now, or a common phone. All the 2G speed. It's a GSM phone, so it'll work with the T-Mobile network. It's got HSPA Plus, which is 3G, and 4G in some cases, depending on your point of view. And it's also got LTE connectivity, which I don't know if I'll actually get that on Walmart Family Mobile. I'll find out, but it's good.
Well, but and hopefully T-Mobile actually expands their network out. Where I'm at, voice and text work just fine for the most part. Texting sometimes gets delayed, but it was data where it would kick back to edge network speeds, which even then it was kind of spotty, and it's just like, oh my god. So, but hopefully that phone works out for you. But now there's so many cool choices for cell service providers that you can just. Sometimes it's just better to pick a phone up yourself and go with what you feel is best, depending on your situation. So yeah, I like the direction this is going, and I think that just about wraps up this episode. Entertain yourself, educate yourself, empower yourself. I think we ought to do more gaming news and maybe some more wrestling news too, depending on if it works out for this week or not. I'm Thomas,
And I'm Stephen Tompkins.
and we'll have something for you next week, no matter what happens. So take care. All right.